Hello, everyone. Today, I am so excited. I am very, very excited to present a webinar speaker. And I'm not going to go into her bio because I've shared it with you all. And most of you on here already know her. And you know that when she comes to talk AI, she's going to drop all kinds of nuggets. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in me doing the talking. I am going to be quiet in just a second and let Kathy take over. But I want to say thank you to Kathy. I called her a little while ago and asked her to do this for me, and she said yes. And in the midst of that, her mother passed away, and I called her and I said, "Don't worry about it. We'll schedule you some other time." And she said, "No, no, I want to do it. I want to do it." That's just the professional that she is. And today, when she comes on the call, she sounded all sexy and everything. And I went, "What is going on with this voice?" And she is just getting over pneumonia. So, in spite of it all, Kathy is here to share and to be with ABC to share these nuggets on AI and weddings. So she would love to see your face if you can. She would love to see your face. But I know if you're in an environment that you can't share, you can't come on camera, that's okay too. But if you can, she would love to see your face, love to see the expressions on your face when she's sharing. So make sure that your name is on your screen so that we can take attendance. And I think I've said everything I'm supposed to say. If you have questions, put them in the chat, and then Kathy will respond at the end of her presentation. So, Kathy, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to turn it over to you with all your sexy voice.
All right. Okay. Well, as some of you know, I am a huge proponent of AI and what it can do for your business. But when I was talking to Shelby, she said one of the valid concerns that a lot of people have is that couples are saying, I don't need a wedding planner. I don't need a wedding professional because I can use AI. So I decided to tackle this topic head on and go for it. So I am excited to present to you today because AI can do many great things, but the fact is our people still need us. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I do have a handout for you. I'll share it a little bit later. So don't worry too much about taking notes and stuff. It's all in there and I'll get that for you there and things. But we are off to the races and I will try not to have a massive coughing fit throughout this. All right. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen okay? And so here we go. So the biggest thing I think to recognize is, and I call this ChatGPT won't be there on your wedding day, and how wedding pros can communicate their value in the age of AI. So, what are we talking about today? Well, it's about education. It's about learning how we talk to our prospective couples and letting them understand the value of working with wedding professionals. And more importantly, we're going to talk about specifically how do we talk about AI with couples without sounding scared, without sounding pushy, or without sounding behind the times. And I will say, this is not about being anti AI, because the fact is, and most of us know this with our businesses, it can be helpful. It can save time. It can give us ideas, and it can help couples feel more organized. But the fact is, AI is a tool. It is not a wedding team. So why does this conversation matter now? Well, couples are already using AI to help with coming up with wedding ideas, checklists, timelines, budgets, vows, vendor questions, planning advice. The conversation has already started. So what are we going to look at today? Well, we are going to acknowledge what AI can do well. But we also are going to talk about, and this starts the more important conversation, is where does AI start to fall short? We're going to talk about what hallucinations are, and these are not the drug-induced ones, but also why couples still need wedding pros, and how can you explain your value clearly to them? And what are some of the simple phrases you can use with clients? The fact is, AI can help couples gather ideas. But wedding professionals are the ones that bring the judgment, the experience, the relationships, the leadership, and the calm that AI can't replace. And just really quickly about me, I live in Calgary, Canada. I spent 16 years as a middle school band and choir teacher for the Calgary Public School Board. And then I jumped ship after having a crazy principal and became a wedding event planner in the Calgary and the nearby Canadian Rocky Mountains. And I've been doing that for 17.5 years. Then I also started social media management about 10 years ago. And now I do a lot of conference speaking and a lot of work on social media and as an AI strategist. Our first part, we're going to talk about the new reality. Couples have access to more information than ever before, but the information is not the same as expertise. This is the truth that no one tells couple. AI can make wedding planning feel easier at first. They can go on, look it up, they get all this information, and it makes them feel good. But it also creates a false sense of confidence because couples may not know what is missing, what is unrealistic, what does not apply, and what could cause problems later on. If you think back, we've had for years people show us the pictures on Pinterest and say, oh, I love this centerpiece. And then we break it to them that the centerpiece they love costs $700 or something per thing. So once again, this we just need to change our perspective a bit and look at it as information that we need to help educate our clients on. This isn't a couple problem because couples are not wrong for using AI. Basically, what they're trying to do is save time, save money, get organized, and reduce their stress, and also understand their options. That all makes sense, okay? We do the same thing as business owners and often use AI to help us move forward and get more done. So it's the same kind of perspective. But here's the challenge. Most engaged couples have never planned a wedding before, so they don't always know what questions to ask, what advice to trust, what details matter, what are the problems to watch for, and that is where wedding pros come in. I'm also going to throw one more thing into the mix. A lot of people have what we call an introductory idea of AI. So I use the phrase, we're using it at the kindergarten level. They don't know enough about it to ask the right questions to get the answers that they really need. So, for example, they might forget to specify their area. So when they're talking, and this can impact costs and things that way. Because, for example, what Tammy has cost wise for a wedding in Florida can be very different than what Colleen has in the California coast, which is different than what Monica has in Indiana. So it changes on our areas and where we're from. So if somebody says, like even for example here, if somebody asks what is the average cost of a wedding, they might get an answer on AI saying for a 100-person wedding, it's 25,000. Well, there's no way that's happening here where I am. We're looking at minimum 35 to 40,000. And if I go out to the Canadian Rockies, we're easily hitting 55, 60,000 as a bare minimum for 100 people. But because most couples don't know to ask those questions, that's where they're going to get in trouble. So our role is shifted. We're no longer just service providers. We have to be educators. We have a responsibility to help our clients understand what AI can do, what AI cannot do, what needs human judgment, and what needs real wedding experience. I equate this the same as when a couple comes into us and says, hey, when we ask about a photographer and they say, oh, don't worry about that. Uncle John bought this fancy new camera and he's going to take pictures at our wedding. Or the same thing when we ask about a DJ or a band and they come back and say, oh, no, we're going to save money. We're just going to do a playlist, which sounds great in theory, but anyone who's done any work on weddings knows that people's tastes in music change depending on the date and the time and the location. So what they like one time isn't going to match what another time is. And that's where that professional DJ or the live band can respond to the music and make things happen that way. So basically, we're not asking couples to ignore AI. We're helping them understand where AI ends and our professional expertise begins. This next part is what can AI do well? Because we need to be honest where it does help. It's great for brainstorming ideas. It's great for creating first drafts, organizing thoughts, writing your vows, making checklists, drafting emails, suggesting questions, simplifying information. It is a great starting point. AI works best as a helper, a brainstorming partner, a first draft tool, idea generator, a time saver, a support tool. But that's what we have to remember. It is a support tool. It is not a replacement tool for wedding professionals. For example, a couple might say, create a wedding planning checklist for a 100-person wedding. And AI might give them, well, book a venue, hire vendors, choose your attire, plan the ceremony, and create a timeline and confirm your final details. Is that helpful? Yes, it is. It's a great starting point. But any of us here in our organization know that this is not complete. And what we do entails way more than this. So it's not always giving them what they need. AI might not know the venue rules. They might not understand your local market, especially because, once again, the couples are putting in and asking generic questions, but they might not be specifying their area. Their budget reality might be off. Their family dynamics, AI isn't taking those into consideration when parents are divorced and they can't, even sit looking at each other or things like that. Or you have other situations that arise, such as perhaps one of the family members is terminally ill. It can't look at the vendor team. It doesn't know about weather risks. It doesn't look at the overall guest experience. So this is where the generic advice can fall short. So AI can help couples make a list, but a wedding professional is the one that helps them make a plan. We've looked at what it can do, but where does AI fall short? And this is where couples need education. AI cannot replace real wedding experience. So it doesn't walk through the venue. It doesn't read the room. It doesn't manage your vendors. It doesn't calm emotions. It doesn't fix problems on site. And it doesn't adjust the timeline in real time. And it doesn't know what actually works. So this picture here on the left is actually one of my favorite venues to work with in the Canadian Rockies. It's reminiscent of a European castle. However, what AI isn't going to tell you is that there's two parts of the hotel, and there's a walkway here along the side that the hotel guests use throughout the day before an event and after an event for that to happen, which means you can't set up the night before. That's not even an option. It means that this room has to be secure, like it's not a secure space. So someone has got to be there with equipment and things like that all the time. You also need to make sure in this venue that you want any room blocks for the guests to be put in the rooms right above this venue. Because if there's any noise complaints, they're going to make you turn down the music. So as long as you put your wedding guests above the ballroom, it works fine. But AI doesn't know that. The other challenge is AI can sound right even when it's wrong. This is probably one of the biggest risks that couples take when they trust AI to plan their wedding. AIs can give answers that sound confident, polished, detailed, and helpful. But that doesn't mean it's accurate, and this is where our expertise comes into play. We also want to talk about AI hallucinations, and here's a simple explanation that wedding pros can use. A hallucination happens when AI gives information that sounds true. This is actually the term for it. But the information is wrong, it's made up, it's outdated, it's incomplete, or it's misleading. And the biggest challenge is it happens more often with the free versions of AI, not just ChatGPT, but Gemini and Bard and Claude, all of those different ones. So the problem is what version are a lot of our couples using? They're also using the free versions. So it's giving them answers, and where you or I might sit there and look at it and go, wait a minute, 1 and 2 is right, but 3 is wrong. They don't see that. They don't have enough information to know that. So they just keep going on their merry way and are in for a load of problems later on. And that's the problem with a hallucination. The problem is not just that AI can be wrong. The bigger problem is that AI can be wrong with confidence. And couples may not have enough planning experience to spot those mistakes. AI might suggest a timeline with not enough setup time. It might suggest a budget that does not match your local market. It might give them vendor questions, but they miss key details. Joanne Morris talked a lot about being in the doing weddings in the Rocky Mountains. I do a lot of similar ones. You've got to have an outdoor backup plan, especially if it's outside, because that weather can shift on a dime. Okay, I suspect a lot of our beach weddings are exactly the same way. The other thing is etiquette advice that does not fit the family dynamic. And then, of course, design ideas that are not realistic for the space. So let's look at that timeline problem for a second. AI might suggest the ceremony at 4, the cocktail hour at 4:30, the reception starts at 5:30, and dinner at 6. That sounds like a great plan, but it's going to maybe miss the transportation time. It might miss when the family photos are happening. Okay, if it's in the same venue, most venues have a requirement for room flip timing, and there's definitely not time for that. Guest movement, how are they getting from one place to the other? Vendor setup needs. And then, of course, it's not just delays from hair and makeup, it could be delays from any of the vendors. Once again, when we're on site and can do that, we can manage that and adjust that. But when someone has their itinerary and just prints it off and, oh, look, it looks pretty and things, it might not work in real life. So you can see really quickly how this could cause problems for the couple as for just the wedding day timeline, but could become costly mistakes as well. So what a wedding pro knows? Well, they can look at the timeline and say, this is too tight. This needs a bit of a buffer. This will not work at that venue. Your photographer needs more time here. We need a backup plan. This comes down to professional judgment, and that's the advantage we have over AI. Now let's look at the budget problem. AI might give a general wedding breakdown, but it's not going to know the local pricing in your area. It's not going to know the guest count impact. So for example, once you hit a certain guest count, you need to arrange for more speakers usually to amplify the sound. There's other costs in terms of centerpieces, all the table settings and things like that. It can require more labor on for your own team coming in or for the rentals setups and teardowns. Labor costs, travel fees, rental needs, service charges, the taxes in your area, as well as design expectations. That budget can look good on paper and look good online, but it may not work in real life, which unfortunately for a lot of couples is going to be a shock to the system when they plan one thing and then find out the scary reality. When we look at the example for vendor questions, AI can give them a great list of vendor questions, but it's going to probably miss things like, do they have insurance? The cancellation policy. Okay, all of us have been experienced with that after that whole COVID pandemic. I call it the period of time we shall not name. Overtime fees, travel fees again, load in rules. Okay, I can think of a venue out in the mountains. It's a beautiful venue, but the venue is on the second floor and there's no elevator, which means everything has to be hauled up set of stairs, which a vendor only makes that mistake once by not checking out the venue. And then anytime they book that venue from then on, they make sure there's extra costs for that extra inconvenience. Staffing numbers, backup plans, who is actually on site. Okay, most couples just assume the person they're meeting with is the person who's going to show up at their wedding. And it's a complete shock to their system if somebody else shows up. And then, of course, AI is not really checking those references and referrals. That's usually on us. That's the reason we build up our teams and our network so we can advise couples on the best wedding professional team they can use. So AI does not always know what it doesn't know, but a wedding professional does. So why do couples need wedding pros? This are our strongest value points. And once again, I've got a handout for you and it's got all of these reasons and how you word it and phrase it to your couples. So the first one is AI gives information while wedding pros give judgment. AI can give options, but wedding pros help couples choose right options based on the venue, the budget, the guest count, the style, the family dynamics, the vendor team, the timeline, and priorities. Once again, I'm really fortunate to get to do weddings out in the Canadian Rockies. And this is a spectacular location that a lot of couples will choose. There's a little bit of smoke in this picture. And there's usually this huge glacier here at the back during the winter and stuff. It's incredible. But what most couples don't know is that this is a national park. So while the wedding part that's happening here is on private property, this pathway behind them, it, back here, is a national park pathway. You can't close the traffic off. So if you choose a day in August on the Saturday, there are constantly people walking back and forth, and you can't stop them. And they're going to stop and watch the wedding. But if a couple meets with me first off, I can let them know that. I can also let them know a different location on site where they're not going to run into that problem. How do we word this to our couples? Well, we can say AI gives you options, but a wedding professional helps you choose the right option for your wedding. Our second reason is, and this is a big one, AI isn't going to be there on their wedding day to solve the problems. So when the flowers arrive late, and this is a picture of me literally in this situation, the bride had chosen the florist, so I inherited the problem. But this is literally 10 minutes before the ceremony. The photographer's taking my picture, and I'm on the phone with the florist, and I know the photographer's taking the picture, so I'm trying to smile. But on my head, I'm kind of freaking out because I'm saying, hi, the ceremony starts in 10 minutes. I'm wondering if you're bringing the bouquets and the ceremony arrangements and things that way. And of course, the bride and the bridesmaids are sitting in the limo here right behind me and have no idea that their stuff is missing at this point. ChatGPT or Claude is not going to solve that problem on the wedding day. What if the shuttle is delayed or the timeline falls behind? Okay, I've had times where the photographers are out doing pictures and things take a little bit longer. So if I'm back at the venue and they let me know, I can maybe extend cocktail hour or something a little bit longer and things that way. But once again, if there isn't someone on site looking after those details, it's not going to happen. It's not going to change. Maybe the ceremony needs to move inside because of weather. Maybe vendors have, well, it's not maybe vendors have questions, they often have questions. So they need someone on site who's going to ask. And if it's not someone like yourself, then it's going to probably be the couple. We've also had family members that are upset and we have to manage and deal with them. Okay, guests don't know where to go. So wedding pros are on-site leadership. We do not just follow the plan, we protect the plan. We adjust the plan. We lead the wedding vendor team. We solve problems quietly and we keep the couples out of the chaos. One of my favorite sayings was from a photographer, and he was taking some evening pictures with the couple, and somebody knocked over a centerpiece. And the bride turned and like she heard the glass break. And so she turned and the photographer looked at her and said, you don't need to worry about that. You've got a Kathy. She's going to look after this for you. She will have the fire put out before the rest of us even know that there's smoke. And I was thinking, can we like articulate that and put that on all my marketing pieces and stuff? But the fact is, that's the truth. When you're there and you're on site, you're the one that's handling and managing things so your couple can relax and enjoy their day. The friendly way we say that is AI can help you make a plan, but someone still has to lead that plan in real time. Our third reason is AI cannot manage those vendor relationships. A wedding is not planned in isolation, it's created by a team. So, wedding professionals know who is reliable, who works well together. Okay. All of us know we have incredible photographers we work with, we have incredible cinematographers we work with. But we also know that you've got to make sure you pair the right ones up together because sometimes they don't play nice in the sandbox with each other. So we've got to make sure we know that ahead of time. We know which vendors need extra details. We know which ones need maybe a little bit more direction. And we also know who to call when something changes. So the way we word this is you're not just hiring our checklist, you're hiring our network, our experience, and our ability to lead the team. Our fourth reason is AI does not know your local wedding market. It's going to give you general advice, but most local pros know the venue rules, seasonal challenges, travel time, weather patterns, permit needs, vendor availability, and realistic pricing, as well as regional expectations. So, the way we say this is AI might tell you what is generally true, but a local wedding professional knows what is actually true for your wedding. So, for example, end times. A lot of couples make an assumption that you just have the venue until they're finished with it. But we know not only what time does all the music have to be off and things, but we also know what time everything has to be out for, and then can guide and advise accordingly. This one's a big one. AI cannot manage emotion. Weddings are beautiful, but they're extremely emotional. There may be strong opinions, there may be divorced parents, blended families, cultural expectations, grief, budget stress, and decision fatigue. This is a picture of a wedding that I did, and the father was terminally ill, and we had to bring him in a wheelchair from hospice, and unfortunately, he passed away 2 weeks later. But this, first of all, this picture means the world to this bride. And there was still a way that he could be involved at this wedding and we could make that work. Whereas AI might not have that solution or be able to advise them on how to move forward with that. So the other thing is we often help manage pressure, people, expectations, communication, awkward moments, emotional decisions, because those human layers matter. I put this picture of this flower here. I did a wedding where the bride's younger brother had passed away. So she had this, and it's a fuchsia pink Gerber daisy that she brought for her brother, and it sat on a chair during the ceremony. But the bride wanted it moved to the cake table during the reception. So I turned around to get the flower, and the flower was gone. So I started looking for it right away, and the mother of the bride had taken the flower. And I said, "Oh, that's where it went. I said, Nicole wants the flower on the cake table." And the mother grabbed the flower to her chest and said, "No, you can't have the flower. The, fl- the flower has to go out for pictures," because the mother recognized that this flower represented her son. And there was no way I was getting this flower out of her hands. So I remember saying to her, "Okay, you can take," and I called it the son's name. I can't remember what it is, but I said, "You can take him out for pictures. I think that's really important. But can you make sure he comes back inside where it's warm after you're done so that he can be on the cake table and part of the reception?" And the mother agreed with that. But once again, AI isn't going to know how to handle that situation because AI isn't there to deal with it on the day. The way we say this in the friendly way is a wedding professional does not just manage the timeline. We help manage the emotional weight of the day. And we've all seen that. We've seen the breakdowns. We've seen the emotion as the father gets ready to walk his daughter down the bride. We've done the first looks. We know what happens and we know the magnitude of it and we know how to make it work. AI cannot take accountability. If AI gives bad advice, it does not call the rental company. It doesn't rewrite the timeline. It doesn't negotiate a solution. It doesn't talk to the wedding professionals to correct it. It doesn't calm the couple. It doesn't stand behind the decisions. So, what do we say? AI can generate a recommendation, but a professional stands behind the recommendation and finds a way to make it work. We talked about this one already a bit. AI can create a false sense of savings. Couples will think, if AI gives me a checklist, why hire help? But those mistakes can cost more later. So, wrong rental quantities, no weather backup plan, a weak timeline, a poor vendor fit, unrealistic budgets, family members having to work the wedding. So we say professional support is not just another expense, it helps protect the money that you are spending. Reason number 8, AI can't protect the couple's experience. Couples shouldn't have to. Couples should not have to answer vendor questions, fix timeline issues, manage family stress, direct guests, check setup, solve problems, or be the emergency contact. They should get to be present. And the way we say this is you can use AI to help plan your wedding, but you should not have to work your wedding. And that's something we tell all our couples anyways. The other one is AI cannot replace taste and nuance. So AI can suggest some pretty ideas, but wedding pros understand how a room feels, how a guest moves, how lighting changes, how sound carries, how design works in real life. Okay, it's not all about the Pinterest boards, and how one choice affects another. So AI can help you imagine the wedding, but a professional helps you make it work. And I think you're noticing with each one of these, we're not putting down AI. We're recognizing still what it does, but we're defining the difference between what it does and what we bring to the table. Okay, our last one here is AI cannot replace human leadership. On the wedding day, people need leadership. Your wedding team needs direction, and this includes families needing reassurance, your guests needing guidance, and couples needing calm. AI cannot lead a room, and a wedding professional can. So, how do we say it? Couples do not just need your answers, they need that guidance. That's why they hire us. We're the one that can explain. We can be their advocate. We can help them understand the costs. And that is critical as part of what we do. So, how do we talk about AI with couples? The biggest thing we have to remember is we have to educate and do not defend. So, the wrong approach. We want to avoid saying things like, don't use AI. AI is dangerous. AI will ruin your wedding. You can't trust any of this. You need us instead. These are the kinds of phrases that can make you sound defensive, and they're also going to make you sound. We talk about the importance nowadays of being relatable. And when you take this kind of firm stance, you are unrelatable. Okay, you don't sound current. So instead, we've got to do a better approach. Use this yes and approach. So, yes, AI can help with ideas, and a wedding professional helps you know which ideas actually work. So, we're still being positive about AI, but we're giving them and differentiating what makes us different and why it works. So, here are some more examples. Yes, AI can create a checklist, and a planner knows what is missing. Yes, AI can draft a timeline, and a coordinator knows whether it works on site. Yes, AI can suggest questions, and a wedding pro knows which answers matter the most. So the yes and approach helps you sound calm, current, helpful, confident, educated, not fear-based, and it makes you the trusted guide. So we don't need to compete with AI. We need to explain what AI cannot replace. This last part is called the Client Education Framework, a simple way to explain your value. We start with acknowledgement, then we clarify, we educate, and then we position ourselves. And as I said, this is a simple way to talk about AI without sounding pushy. So, step one is acknowledge. We have to start by saying what is true. AI can be helpful. It can help couples gather ideas, get organized, ask questions, feel less overwhelmed. This builds trust. When we're honest and transparent, they will recognize and see that. Then we got to move to the clarify step. This will explain the limitations that AI may not know your venue, your budget, your guest count, your family dynamics. It might not be familiar with your local market or your team of wedding professionals, as well as what are your priorities for their wedding. So we have to educate. We got to help couples understand why this matters. And this is a huge part of our job, whether it's related to AI or it's showing value in the wedding team that we suggest. A wedding professional can say things like, this applies to you, or this does not, or this needs to be adjusted, or this could cause you problems. And here's what I recommend instead. And the last part is we have to position ourselves. We have to connect our value back to what our couples care about. And that means listening to what's most important to them. So you're going to help them protect the investment. Okay. This is probably the most significant thing they've spent this much money on, unless they've bought a house. So this is a huge for them. It helps protect their timeline. It helps make sure they're using their wedding team to their full advantage. It's making sure their guests have a great experience, as well as the couple's ability to enjoy their day. So here's an example. And once again, these are in the handout. AI can be a great starting point when you're gathering ideas and getting organized. The challenge is that it does not always know what applies to your venue, your budget, your guest count, your family dynamics, or your vendor team. This is where we come in. We help you sort through the information, avoid costly mistakes, and build a plan that works in real life. Here's another one. It's a little bit shorter. I love that you've been gathering ideas. Remember, we got to validate our couple and what they're doing. That gives us a great place to start. Now, our job is to help you decide what is realistic, what fits your priorities, and what will actually work on the wedding day. And I think you can see in both of these examples, this isn't threatening. This is acknowledging what they've done, but showing them the path forward that's going to get them the best results. So where do we want to use this messaging? Well, everywhere. You want to make sure that you've somehow put it in your website copy. You want to use it in your Instagram and social media captions. You might want to write a blog post on this. You might want to have some of this prepared for when you get inquiry calls or when you're actually sitting down and putting a proposal together. So you articulate what some of those differences are. When you're having an actual in-person consult, you might have some of these prepared and ready that you can work them in. If you put together planning guides, this might be sort of a tip or a warning that you include as part of it. The point is you want to communicate this in as many places as possible. Now, am I telling you to do every single one of these things for next week? No, I'm not. You're running a business, but maybe you target one thing. And then after that, you target the next thing, or at least put it on the radar and keep working to include these. And of course, as well, you want to put this in your client welcome materials, letting them know where AI can help them, what kinds of things would they find, and then can bring back to the table. Here are some simple phrases you can use, and they're in the handout. AI is a tool. It's not your wedding team. AI can help you make a list while we help you make a plan. AI can suggest, but our experience is going to be what helps you make the right decisions. AI can support the process. We protect the experience. And AI can give answers, but wedding pros give guidance. I think the thing that's important to remember here is AI can support the planning process, but it can't replace the human judgment, the calm leadership, and the real world experience needs to protect a wedding day. AI is a tool, and you, however, are the trusted guide. And on one of the most important days of a couple's life, that difference matters. Okay, We did it, and we still have time for questions despite the technical breakdown there. I'm going to leave this up there just for a second, and it's actually in the handout. But please, if you have any questions at any time, whether it's today or whether it's in the future, feel free to send me an email at kathy@savvysocialslayers.ca. You can also direct message me. I'll be honest, I'm on Instagram more than any of the other platforms, but you can find me at I am Kathy McRae or at Savvy Social Slayers. And that is probably the best way to get a hold of me. And as I said, oftentimes some people are shy about asking a question, but oftentimes you can ask me a question. It takes me maybe 5 or 10 minutes to get back to you. And then that helps you get over your hurdle or your challenge. So I would far rather you reach out to me and let me help you a little bit and answer those questions than having you remain stuck trying to figure it out on your own. We know, and that's part of the power of ABC and other organizations, is when we work together as a team, we're greater. So, anyways, I'm going to stop sharing and I think we're back now on normal stuff. Shelby, do you have questions?
I don't see any questions except how do they get the handout?
Okay, well, let me go back to that one.
Oh, someone said, "Oh my God, you are amazing." So helpful and selfless, giving us the goods.
While I do a lot more AI stuff nowadays, I still do weddings. So I've been there in the trenches and I know exactly, we've always had to communicate our value. Okay. People make assumptions. They're trying to save money. I get it, but they don't know the problems that can occur. So I've always believed that if we can communicate that and educate our clients, then that's going to help us in the future and it's going to help us connect. So I look at it as this is just another way to do that. So I will be honest, the handout's like 18 pages long because I was trying to give you like all of the information that I put in here, but I also tried to put some practical exercises in there to get you thinking. So yes, all of those 10 reasons are in there, but what are the three ones that you're going to identify with the most? What is it, depending on your discipline and what you specialize in, what is going to change? So for example, Joel is a DJ and a wedding venue owner is probably going to have some different things that he needs to talk about with AI as compared to Tammy as a planner and designer. Yes, I will email it to Shelby and she can send that out as well. I'll do it as soon as I finish that. And
But you also just put it in the chat. I don't
and
mind
I'm
saying
just
it,
putting
but
it in the
put
chat
it in
again.
the
So it's
chat.
nice and fresh
Yeah.
loading. And yeah, Marcia said our clients don't know they need us until they need us. That's our job. Okay. We've all heard and seen the nightmare stories. So we've just got to put those in our arsenal. Like I have a picture that I show couples of what happens when you find a photographer who doesn't know lighting and they shows the MC speaking and there's this huge light behind them. Like you can't even see the person speaking because the person doesn't know how to use the light function on their camera. So when I can use those as examples, that then helps me articulate my value. And this is just the same thing.
So, Kathy, you are just amazing. All that you've been through, and then you still show up and share your wisdom and your expertise, and you do it so generously. I appreciate you. And even though I couldn't talk you out of it, I'm so glad you came.
Well, you're
So glad
welcome.
you shared. I want you to feel better. I know that your voice is getting more raspier as we go. I don't see any other questions. If you all can download it, I don't mind sending it, but if you all can download it on your own right now, then it'll be one less thing I have to do. Um,
Okay. And I am serious about you guys emailing me or contacting me. I am happy to do that. And same thing, if there's questions about AI that you want to just run past, I can do that as well. As I said, I am a huge proponent of AI and the advantages that it can have working for us. I don't think it's AI only. I think a lot of it still comes from you, but it's knowing the right way to ask questions and stuff like that. But when Shelby asked me this topic, I know this is an important one. And as I said, it almost kind of goes against what I normally do. But as a wedding professional, I know that this was essential and I was excited to dive into it.
Kathy, I just wanted my name's Kara. I just wanted to let you know I'm feeling the on the pneumonia thing. I just got over it, so I'm right there
Oh,
with you.
all
Feel
right. Well,
better.
continue to feel better soon. As I
Thank
said,
you.
we have our
And thank
moments and stuff.
yeah, thank you for the presentation. It was awesome.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you
Kathy, I
so
have a
much.
question
So if
Yeah.
for
you
you, this Venencia.
okay.
You mentioned how how AI um, can be helpful pretty much to the client and how we can use it. Can there be a part two where you can show us how to use AI in order to benefit our business or
Yes,
our roles
I
as planners?
can. Now, ironically, I was going to share with you. I just developed a new course. It's in the process of rolling out, and it is called Confidence First AI Made Simple. And I had part of it in the handout, and I was trying to do it. And I made a bad mistake last night. I was tired. I went to bed instead of figuring it out. So I got up early trying to figure it out, but it didn't quite happen today. So I do have an 8 module course. As I said, it's called Confidence First AI Made Simple. And the idea is it's to take you from what I call that kindergarten level right up to at least a junior high or senior high level. We're talking about the basics. We're talking about some of the different platforms because it's not all about ChatGPT. It's about Claude. It's about Gemini. We talk about the basics, how you really ask the prompts. What kinds of information do you need to give it to get better questions? But then we're also going to take a look at how you use AI to do images. So, for example, some wedding professionals are actually using it as part of their design deck and getting it to create images and things that way. We're going to also take a look at some basic stuff to how to make videos using AI. And then, probably my favorite thing, the last module, is how to build a clone. And I'm not talking about the cute little avatar that looks like you. This was something I learned how to do last year and has been the biggest change to my business. So basically, what I did is I answered some questions and stuff about my business, and then I fed it right into the DNA of ChatGPT. So what that, and it would work on Gemini, it would work on Claude. But the difference is I don't have to put that information in all the time. I have a special project and it keeps and tracks all of that information. So it builds on it. It knows what I've done already. So, for example, even when I was creating this workshop, I could talk to it about what are some of the important points I need to talk about. And then I could say, great, we've done that. Help me come up with a plan for how this should go together. Great. Okay, what are my talking points? And then I worked with it and built it and said, yes, I like this. No, we're not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. And then I got it to help me come up with the slide deck and stuff. So this is a course. It is, as I said, it's rolling out right now. Yeah, it's a video course so that you would sign up for it and then you work through it at your own level. What I'm going to ask is if you are interested in it, because as I said, I somehow screwed it up and it didn't work. I am putting my email in the slayers.c. I'm putting my email in the chat box. If you email me, I will send you the information and I will send you the ABC code I was giving you because I was taking like the half price off the course for you. And I'll give you more information. It's not that you're definitely buying it, but I will make sure you have the information so you can look at it and make the decision if it's right for you. But Venencia, and answer your question, this is exactly what you need as a business to help build your knowledge and understanding of AI. And I call it confidence first because we want to take you from the level you're at and get you to that upper level that will make that difference and really show you how you use it so that it is helping you save time, it's helping you get more done, and it kind of levels the playing field with a lot of other people. Okay, we
Thanks,
talk
Kathy.
about
Thank you.
AI is people worry that they're too late. And the truth is you're not too late, but I will say the train is leaving the station. So if you don't get on board soon, the problem is you are going to get left behind by everyone else that is using it. But how do we use it in a safe way? How do we use it that works towards us? And as I said, I'm always probably my other phrase I use a lot is it can do 80% of the heavy lifting, but there's still 20% that belongs to us to customize, to personalize it, to make it about us and what we do. Not just good, it printed it out, good, use that. Okay. So as I
Thank you,
said, Kathy
Kathy.
at savvysocialslayers.ca or DM me on those programs. I'll send you the information and then you can decide if it's right for you.
Thank you very
Thank
much, Kathy.
you.
Appreciate that.
If you all weren't able to download the handout, just send me an email at education at ABC Wedding Planners, and I will get it to you. I don't want you to, after Kathy put it in a couple of times, I don't
I
want you
just did it again.
I
So
don't want you to bother her because I want her to go get some rest. So if you didn't do it, if you couldn't do it for some reason, then let me know. But I do want you to go ahead and download it if you can. Kathy, thank you. I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you who stayed when she was frozen and that she
so
was
do I.
come
So
back.
do I. I have
So
never
thank
had
you.
that one happen before, and I
Me
appreciate your
either.
patience and stuff.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you again,
Thank
Kathy.
you,
Thank
Kathy.
you so much.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Shelby.
Bye bye.
Have a good day, everybody.